Good evening, everybody. Hello. Anyway, good evening, everybody. I'm Councillor Sarah Barwick, the Chair of the Planning and Healthier, Stronger Community Policy Advisory Committee, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this meeting. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded for playback on the Council's YouTube channel. Will anyone else be recording the proceedings? I ask so that people at the meeting will know if this will be happening. I take it that's a no. If the fire alarm sounds during the meeting, please remain seated and a member of the Democratic Service team will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. Do I have any apologies? I've got a list here. Yeah.
Apologies from Councillor Forecast.
And apologies from Councillor Paul Harper.
Okay. Apologies from Councillor Kahili.
Any substitutes?
Councillor Faygoot for Councillor Paul Harper.
Councillor Millam for Councillor Kahili.
Sorry, there are no urgent items. I can't see any visiting members. Are there any disclosures by members or officers? No, thank you. Are there any disclosures of lobbying? No, thank you. Item 7. I don't think there's anything that needs to be taken in a in private. I should read what I've got down here. Thank you. All right, item 8, minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of January. Is there any comments for accuracy? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In the resolution for Maidstone Museum, item 100, there's an extra A in the resolution. Thanks be noted to the officers in the plural, please.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? I move that the minutes be agreed of the 8th of January and approved as a correct record with those amendments. That agreed? Thank you. Item 9, forward planning relating to the committee terms of reference. All right, Councillor Clark, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm really just raising the point that I was speaking with officers just a moment ago, which was to do with these conservation area planned public consultations. The one for Lewes is showing for expected decision date of the 10th of February. That obviously didn't make it to this pack this evening, so my assumption is that that's now going to be moved out, which the officer would be the case, but I would just say if we can get that updated as soon as possible, because obviously in my area I've got a trust and 2 parishes that are interested.
Thank you. Hopefully that will be done. And Councillor Conyard.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. With 2 urgent updates received about the local cycling and walking plan this afternoon, and knowing that it's rapidly moving on and the heated discussion, or worthwhile discussion, I think, better than the heated, from December, I wondered whether the Cabinet member could just give us the latest update on everything that's happening there, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, in terms of the local cycling and walking strategy, as you'll recall, the document had a little bit of a rough ride at Policy Advisory Committee, and there were some quite significant challenges for content. And I think that was reflected within Cabinet as well, in that there were quite considerable concerns around the approach outlined. And then matters have brought to a head by devolution and local government reorganisation, some of the timetables and the costs against the proposals were seen as unrealistic. So there was determination that officers have a conversation with the relevant colleagues at Kent County Council about a more ergonomic way forward, potentially. Coming out of that discussion, essentially, there were three potential ways forward outlined. One was that we stick with the draft LC whip as proposed, which clearly I don't think there is any support from that from colleagues on the Borough Council membership at least. The other one was to seek to revise the cycling and walking strategy. And the third on the tariff was that a more bespoke document is put together, which focuses very sharply on the key blockers for active travel, for walking and cycling. You know, for example, the bridge gyratory, which is very difficult to get across if you're a pedestrian. It will be discussed at Cabinet tomorrow. I think that my feeling is that the third option, because we've only got probably 2 years left of identifying the most significant challenges and seeking Section 106 or SIL or other funding routes to tackle those key blockers, is probably the most likely to succeed. But there will be a debate tomorrow, and we'll see the way it goes. Thank you. If officers have anything technical to add.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. Just to confirm that the urgent update has been provided by officers for members so that full consideration can be given of the item at the Cabinet as the lead member has suggested. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Milham. No, it wasn't. Oh, it's sorry.
It's okay. Councillor Conyard and Councillor Clark covered the points I wanted to raise.
Thank you. Apart from those comments, I move that the forward plan be noted. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 10, Maidstone Local Development Scheme update, and that's going to be introduced by Councillor Harwood.
Thank you. Again, I will be as brief as I can. Essentially, the Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act sets out requirements that local authorities must maintain an up-to-date local development scheme. The next deadline for local authorities to submit their document is 6th of March. And the document that's before members, essentially, again, it reflects the changes arising from local government reorganisation in quite a significant way, in that we know that we have a limited time horizon to deliver documents, and there has been a shift away from development plan documents that need to go before an inspector and take a very long time to supplementary planning documents, which can be turned around more rapidly. So that is a key reflection. I think the only other significant change in the schedule was set out before you. It potentially relates to the Gypsy and Traveller Development Plan document, where there was a very good and a very detailed response to the consultation document, and officers have determine that there is some further work that needs to be done in order to move that document on. So I think that's all I need to say as an introduction, but if I let my colleagues come in and see if there's anything from the officer perspective that you want to emphasise.
Thank you very much indeed. And it's just a very quick one. It's just to say that the government, with this update to the local development scheme, they're only interested in plans coming forward under the current system. We're probably all aware or may recall that the government are introducing significant reforms nationally to the planning system in this country. This update is not about those future reforms and plans that are to be produced under the reform system. So that means the new local plan that we would produce as an authority, that is something that would fall under the new system that the government are currently formulating. So as Councillor Harper has stated, the key issues here are how we take forward design and sustainability in terms of turning that into supplementary planning documents that we can deliver, and also the Gypsy and Traveller development plan document. This isn't about the new local plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Has anyone got any comments? Yes, Councillor.
Oh, goodness me. All right, thank you. Just a couple of comments on this, really. My team have asked a lot about the Gypsy and Traveller DPD, and we've been repeatedly assured that it was on track and meeting its timescales, and yet we've got a new LDS and it's gone back again. And I just think that is disappointing, but we are where we are. And the design and sustainability DPD, I just think the main point to underline here is an SPD does not have the same weight as a DPD. And I get that, you know, again, we are where we are. We've got to finish off our work from the last local plan. We've got to finish it off quickly. And the government's been quite clear about that. And I think, you know, planning is changing and we've got a lot of things that are coming our way that we're going to have to tackle. But it is disappointing because I know that that's one thing that, you know, planning has said time and time again, we don't have the policies to defend some of this stuff. And that is where the initial idea for the design and sustainability DPD came from. So I think, yeah, you know, SPDs are good, but it's not the same weight as a DPD. But granted, we've got not much time left in which to essentially get all of our homework completed and handed in. So that's just my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spooner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, we are where we are with the local plans and the local development plans that we are preparing. Fully understand the situation that Councillor Harwood and Mark has introduced. The government are changing the planning system. We cannot get the design and sustainability DPD through all the hoops within the timescale. So therefore, it's got to go. Sad, but it's got to go. But as long as we progress the other issues with SPDs, as long as we can progress those, we should be okay. I think basically what we are looking at these development plans and these SPDs is to protecting ourselves from what we know will be coming our way in the future. And I think that by focusing on the SPDs for our growth areas at Lidsing, Heathlands and at Invicta Barracks, and making sure we don't divert staff away from those particular schemes, we should be okay. But it is a very, very worrying future. And I think that Maidstone is well placed to survive, but we'll have to wait and see. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Harwood.
I really just wanted to give some reassurance on the supplementary planning documents that on planning committee, the residential extensions supplementary planning document has actually proven quite a robust document, even though it is an SPD and not a DPD. And some of our DPD documents and local plan review documents have been dismissed out of hand by inspectors. So you have, you know, it's not as black and white, I think, as perhaps is portrayed. But and hopefully the SPDs, because it's really the only thing in our armoury at the moment, will suffice. And I think you are absolutely right, Councillor Spooner, that they need to be in place for the strategic locations, and they need to be appropriately evidentially underpinned. And just wanted to emphasise the other point that you made around it's ensuring that we hand over our spatial planning portfolio in a way that has researched and evidenced material so that no matter who takes over and how they take over, we will have the underpinning evidence to protect our finest townscapes and landscapes and provide at least a policy pointer in some areas. And I think in one area of activity, the updates to the landscape character assessment guidance, I think that is going to be fundamentally important. Because our last document is 2012. It's getting very old and tired, and the world's moved on. But no, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. I took everyone's view into consideration, and I think we're all agreed that the perfect is the enemy of the good, and we've only got a certain time frame to do it. At the end of the day, if we've got something like Councillor Harwood said in our armoury that's completed, it's going to be a lot better for us going forward than something that's halfway through that just gets fallen by the wayside. So I'm happy to propose the papers, which is option one, the preferred option.
Thank you. So we have a seconder, Councillor Conyard. Is everyone else in agreement with that proposal? Thank you. Item 11, Public Health Works and Health Strategy Consultation. Councillor Jeffries, that's yours. Sorry, Councillor Thompson, yeah.
Not quite as good looking, I do apologise. Thank you, Chair. It is a great pleasure to be joined by Chrissy Brown this evening, and I think Karen Britton is also with us online this evening to represent both Chrissy here as Health Policy Officer and Karen Britton representing Economic Development. You see Chris Inwood's name on here. Karen is speaking to that department today, so can I invite members please to engage with our officers with your feedback and comments. So I'll take just a few seconds to remind you, in the HSC portfolio I cover both public health, which is a small hand in the big hand of KCC. That is where most of that responsibility sits, but we're looking to develop that partnership through the Healthy Alliance, for example, which meets for the second time later this week, and to bring that into meaningful dialogue with economic development. I am privileged to be representing you on the Integrated Care Partnership in my cabinet role. We'll be meeting then again shortly, and I'm pleased to let this group know that Sally McKinnon and others have bent over backwards to bring me up to speed on the complex and county-wide implications of that group. As you will recognise from our programme, we're looking for the ways in which the practical work of this council feeds into the wider determinants of health, and for today's report that includes work and health. We were given a survey by a government body asking us to look at work and health issues, and it was mostly framed in the perspective of the individual employee, and mostly framed in the sense of an individual employee who either is or is at risk of not being well mentally, physically, in some way or another. I hope it's abundantly obvious from this report that Chrissy and the Economic Development team, Chris Inwood and otherwise, have been charged to bend over backwards to stretch the envelope as much as possible to not only resoundingly tick all the boxes in terms of looking after individual employees, but to promote a positive view of health in the workplace up to senior management levels. And we have until the 21st of March to add further comments to this, so I welcome input from this pack and elsewhere. We are looking for a proactive approach. We're looking for creativity. We are looking for ways in which we can support, as Maidstone Borough Council, the micro and small enterprises that are by far and away the largest numbers of employers of our employees. 84% of our 8,000 businesses employ fewer than 10 people. So they are particularly going to need the assistance of Maidstone Borough Council in making sure that our employees are doing meaningful work that helps them to think healthily, live healthily, and underpin our thriving economic progress. So you'll see in the appendix, which is the responses to the survey that we've been given, that the questions are framed very strictly by the consultee, and as you go through the document, you'll see that the parts that we've added to it get longer and longer, because we're really testing and stretching the envelope to say a positive attitude to work and health needs certainly to look after individuals who are ill or at risk of being ill, but there is so much more on offer than that. So thank you for giving the report your attention, and please do bring your comments to our officers. Chris, you have anything to add at this point?
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. No, I mean, I think it's quite, the questions are very narrow that they asked on the consultation, so we were limited in how we could respond, but we did try to bring in the work that Maidstone already do with our economic development and our wonderful businesses that we have here, but also how we can support other anchor organisations and use our lever there, but also the fact that this strategy, although it's very positive and important, will be easier to implement in businesses that are office-based, that are generally with people with higher education, higher qualifications, and will be harder to implement in manual labour, factory work, gig economy, places where people already have other vulnerabilities and health vulnerabilities. So I just want to bring your attention to that, which I hope we've managed to answer in the narrow questions that were as part of the response.
Thank you. Has anyone got anything, any questions? Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. I feel as if we've come quite a long way in a sense. Health and well-being was, hopefully still is, a golden thread running through our strategies over the past however many years for Borough Council employees. And to see this spread outwards is very, very encouraging. I do add a note of caution, and speaking very generally, I'm very disappointed that the sense of responsibility that people should have for their own well-being doesn't seem to be the in thing to do. It seems to be the government's fault or somebody else's fault. And as much as we as a borough, I hope, are enablers, encouragers, and all those good things, I'm not so sure how far we can get, given the way that society itself appears to have developed over recent years. I'm trying not to generalize too much, but it does slightly tarnish my encouragement for what we have here. I had to get that out. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Conyard.
So thank you, Chair. Without seeing anybody else indicate, can I recommend we move for option 1, which is approve as stands, please?
Yes. Yes, of course you can.
Second, I just wanted to say that it was quite, I was really quite heartened by the fact that this is such a comprehensive response to a consultation. And normally I'm reading a few lines and I'm thinking, oh, they've missed this, they've missed that. But there's actually a lot of information in here, signposting to schemes and processes. And I just think there was a lot of work that was put in. And I think we should note the time that the officer put into this report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jeffries.
I won't tell him if you don't. Thank you, members, for your comments. Robust analysis is valuable. That's why we bring these reports to these meetings. That is what we're here for. The pressures are multiplying and multifaceted, Councillor Gooch. It is more challenging in every area of life, be it for mums with children who are also finding themselves wishing to work, expected to work, working without thinking about it. School children who are forced to be at home due to a pandemic one moment and then brought into the maelstrom of social development the next, and then asked to make independent decisions about their future skills and training, themes that we have tried to touch on in this document. The lack of inclusive social narrative about what being at work involves, what it's like, indeed including that important quality of responsibility that you so correctly referred to. We don't have those shared narratives in these different areas of life in the ways that we once did. And the direction that we are now looking forward to with larger councils with smaller numbers of representatives means that we need strength and depth in those existing links between voluntary and assistance organisations, schools, colleges, skills and training, social support groups, and whatever is left of local government, in as much strength as we possibly can do, which is what I will be arguing for through the ICP with Kent County Council. And you are right, it is entirely appropriate that in parallel with all of those things that we do talk about individual responsibility as well. People need empowerment to exercise that responsibility. But I thank you for the comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we have a proposer and a seconder. Are we all agreed on that? Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our business. Thank you all for attending this speedy meeting. It's always nice to get time back. Thank you very much. Good night.